How's it going, Matt?
It's going good. What's going on with you?
I'm good too. Thank you so much for doing this. Of course, Matt is one third of the band or the group Cheat Codes. Matt, first and foremost, since your band is called Cheat Codes, my first question is what's a cheat code to succeeding in this very crowded space of music making? What do you think, man? Have you figured it out? It sounds like it.
I think with anything in life, the cheat code is just like going straight for what you want because I think a lot of people they think that there's a ton of people going for these like big goals, and the reality is most people settle for something average or something less than what they want. So if you actually go for what you want, there's actually less competition than what you think. I mean, I live here in LA. I moved here like 10 years ago, and it's such a small industry. Like it's such a small world. After a few years, like everybody knows each other. So I think from the outside looking in, it's like, man, how is that possible? How are people doing this? But in reality, as far as like professional musicians, people that are doing it full time as their job, I think it's a lot like smaller than what people realize.
So, you've been in this industry, the entertainment industry, for how long now?
So we've been doing cheat codes since 2015.
Okay.
Before that, I was doing production and writing and all kinds of stuff just to pay the bills, with music.
Yeah, this is a world where people love to do shortcuts, right? You know, if I'm not mistaken, a cheat code is also some sort of a hack, in a way, a sort of like a shortcut to accomplishing things. What are your thoughts on that kind of mentality when people want instant success, instant fame? Do you think that there is the wrong way and the long way, or are there actual shortcuts to succeeding?
Yeah, I mean, I think you can get what you want relatively fast. I don't think it has to be super hard or you have to do it forever to get there. I mean, if you look at what we did, we had a couple of viral songs and we didn't have a big label pushing them. We just had a viral idea. So I think, with the internet, if you have a really good idea, it can blow up. It can be a viral thing, a viral moment. But I think a lot of people, they don't see the few years of development. They see like the instant success, but a lot of those people have still been grinding for 3 or 4 years before people knew them. So like we started cheat codes in 2015, but all of us had been doing music for a few years before that you know so I think with anything in life, you just got to put in your 10,000 hours in one way or another, and you might have that viral moment.
So nobody's calling you an overnight success, right? At least the group cheat codes. You guys aren't an overnight success by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, I mean, our whole mindset when we first started was just we wanted to do a song every month. So between the three of us, we could do everything between the artwork, between the production, the writing, the singing, the mixing. And we knew if we just like had laser focus without zero money, zero budget, that's what we could create, with our little team that we had put together. So that's what we did. And after putting out a song every month for a few months, it just kept growing. It was like every song we put out would get a couple more million streams, couple more million streams. And then next thing we knew, we had a viral song. So, I mean, I think like with anything, the more you do it, you're going to get better.
Have you
And
guys have you since you're a trio, you're the three group act. Have you guys settled into a role? Do you have a specific role in the group, or do you guys just do um, whatever you can to produce a song, for example, or have you settled into a sort of a role?
yeah, we're pretty open and flexible to how things come about because we've had success, like you said, in different ways. You know, we've had success where, for example, our song Sex, where we were just all sitting in a room writing and thinking like, oh, that'd be a really good idea to remake Salt and Pepper's idea of sex, but put it under like a modern beat. Like that was us just like coming up with the idea like in a room together. And then we've had other ideas where we're working with, for example, Ari from Lauv on No Promises, and kind of piecing things together in a more strategic way, and like, oh, who could we get on this record that would be perfect? Oh, Demi Lovato, you know. So songs, they kind of just come from all different angles, and we just kind of keep our like minds open in a way. But Trevor does a lot of production. He's really kind of honed in on just getting better at producing. And we all write, you know, we all write lyrics. And then, but as far as the group, you know, I do a lot of the DJing and like putting the live show together. And Kevy's kind of like the creative guy visually. Like he really knows how to put like colors and color schemes and merch and all this kind of stuff together. So I think when we put our minds together, we can usually come up with something dope.
Just the other day, I don't know if you were aware of this. Olivia Rodrigo, the Fil-Am artist, was accused of stealing from the guitar riff of an old classic song from Elvis Costello. If I'm not mistaken, the song was called "Pump It Up." And of course, Elvis Costello said, you know, that's the way we roll. That's just rock and roll. That's what he said in a tweet. What are your thoughts on that? When people start sounding like each other, when they sound like they're stealing from each other, you guys sound like you're stealing from each other, and all that stuff. What are your thoughts on the creative process and how things beginning to sound similar, or if not being actually copied?
Deliver possibilities faster in Cebu with Lala Move. Let's move forward to the new normal by delivering your business or personal needs in just 55 minutes. Deliver small or big items with our motorcycles starting at 60 pesos, or four-wheel MPVs and light trucks starting at 250 pesos. Download the app now from Apple App Store or Google Play Store. Lala Move. Deliver faster.
Yeah, I kind of look at it as nothing. I mean, even if you're just take it to like physics, for example, like energy can't be created or destroyed. So any idea that feels new, it's not actually new. You're just taking two old ideas and putting them together. It's like peanut butter and jelly, right? Like those are two, or like Reese's, like chocolate and peanut butter. Like those are separate things, but when you put them together, it tastes like a whole new thing. So like with Olivia Rodrigo, like she has her other song good for you, which
yeah
to me it sounds exactly like this Paramore song.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Never my attention, like every time I hear that. So
that's what you get.
But I love Olivia Rodrigo's good for you song. I think it's great. So I think a lot of things like cycle back around as far as styles or sounds. I mean, I think we went through a really long period where we didn't really hear any rock music really at all, and then out of nowhere, Olivia Rodrigo kind of comes with this sound that was like popular in like 2010, you know what I'm saying? Like 10 years ago, and people love it, and they're kind of like, wow, this is like so fresh. So I think people kind of get tired of hearing the same thing over and over again, and you know, if it's good, it's good. You know, it might kind of not be trendy in the moment, but at the end, like Elvis Costello is like classic sound. And if you can kind of, you know, be inspired from that and make it your own, then I think that's great for the music industry versus like everybody trying to sound like the modern artist, you know, that kind of makes it boring.
I remember you guys did a concert with the Chainsmokers, if I'm not mistaken. Am I correct in saying that you did something with the Chainsmokers, at least a concert of some sort?
Yeah, we've done shows with them before.
The Chainsmokers has been here in the Philippines, specifically here in Cebu several times. And at the first time they appeared here in the Philippines, they did a song called the Selfie Song. I mean, it wasn't, you know, it wasn't their best work, and at the same time, we thought that they were just like a flash in the pan. But it just turns out they came out with hit after hit after hit after hit, and I kind of remind you remind me of the Chainsmokers in the same way that you guys are making hit after hit after hit. But don't you get that feeling sometimes, Matt, that you've got to do stuff that you don't really like to do, make a hit song that you don't really like, so that you can do the stuff that you want to do? Sometimes, as an artist, do you get that feeling? Sometimes there are things that you need to do to get to where you want that you don't necessarily want. The classic example for what I'm talking about is that song, the selfie song from the Chainsmokers. Do you think you need to do something like that?
Yeah, I know, because it's kind of funny you mentioned that, because when we toured with them, they actually talked about how much they hated that song. So
we hated that song here too.
yeah, they said that was definitely, I don't know how that came together, but somebody convinced them to do that song. It worked out, but we've definitely been there as well with certain things where I remember we had managers in the beginning of our career, and they're always like, you guys should do like remakes, like you guys should take like an old song and like, but sing the vocals and like completely remake it, but the way they presented it was more like a cover.
Mm-hmm.
So we remember being like, no, that's dumb. Like, we don't want to do that. That sounds horrible. And then we ended up doing sex. Like a flip of Salt and Pepper. And that was because like our idea, and we didn't view it as a cover. We viewed it more as like a flip. Then we thought it was cool. But it's like, we could have just listened to the advice of our managers like 6 months before. So maybe it's something like that, where like the Chainsmokers, like they hated that song, and maybe they just did it because someone convinced them to do it, but maybe whoever convinced them to do it was right. You know what I mean? Like, maybe that was good advice. I don't know. Obviously it
was. Matt, you mentioned early in this interview that you have to find what you love. How did you find what you love? How did you know that this was what you wanted to do, music making?
I think all three of us wanted to do music and wanted to be in entertainment. And we were kind of doing it for a while before we came together. I think this was just kind of the final project for all of us that seemed like it could actually work in like a long-term way. We'd all have done projects before in the past. So yeah, I mean, we all wanted to do music. I think you kind of have to have that mindset of, this is like what I'm going to do, and I'm going to do whatever I can to make it happen, whether it was being an artist or being a producer or being a songwriter. So that's what's great about Cheat Codes, is like, we get to do all of that in one project. We don't have to settle.
So was there like a light bulb moment when you found out one moment that this was what you wanted to do, music making? Was there like one moment in your life that you decided to do this, or was it like a slow, gradual process?
I remember getting an album of the Backstreet Boys.
Oh, okay.
They had a CD called Millennium, and I was 9 years old. I might have even been younger, honestly, but I had the CD player, and I would just listen to it on repeat. But I was like analytical about it. It wasn't just like, I wasn't like doing the dance moves or anything like that. I was like analyzing the music, like the melodies, like, and I was really young. So I think from that point on, I really was kind of like a student of pop music. Like, you know what I'm saying? I wasn't just trying to be really good in like the school band or the school orchestra. Like, I was, for whatever reason, I was really interested in commercial music and how like it worked, and like studying like all the people on the radio and just different things like that. So but with Cheat Codes, it just kind of made sense, because we all do different genres and we didn't want to be put in one box. So to have an outlet where, if we want to produce on the record and not sing on it, or if we want to sing on it and write on it, or if we want it to be more of a remix, we have some songs that we just remix, and having that flexibility was very appealing to us. So once we started the project, we were just like, oh, this is fun, because every day we can work on something different and it keeps it fresh, versus kind of like doing the same thing day in and day out. It becomes like more of a job.
So you're trying to decode a pop song at 9 years old, man. You're already trying to decipher it.
Yeah, I just remember, like, yeah, I think my brain just like lit up, and I was like, okay, going on here.
So you have an album coming up, or is it already out? Tell us about it.
Yeah, so our debut album is out now. It's called Hellraisers, but it's part one. So
Okay.
we have part two and part three coming out as well, and they're all different genres. So part one is more pop leaning, inspired by Trevor and kind of his background, and part two is more emo hip hop, and part three is more dance club records. And it's kind of a story of how we came together, like kind of what we've been talking about, just different backgrounds, and us all becoming like Yultron together and just creating this amazing debut album. We had enough records to do 3 albums, so we decided if it's going to be our debut album, let's just make it something special.
You know, you mentioned in your previous interviews, I was listening to some of your interviews that and you mentioned also in this interview that your plan is to come out with at least 1 song per month. I know there are a lot of artists out there, like for example, Justin Bieber or Taylor Swift, who have so many songs, especially during the pandemic. They came out with so many songs and all that stuff. How's that? Is that unnatural for any human being to be that creative? I mean, like, is there like a sort of an environment that you need to be in to be able to churn out at least 1 song per month? How what's the process like in coming out with such consistency, such rhythm, such flow that you can come up with at least one every month? How's that? How does that work?
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily something that every artist should do or should feel like they have to do, but I think if you're just beginning and you're trying to find your sound, or you're just trying to get good at your craft, I think you should definitely make a quota for yourself, because I think it's easy to get into your head of trying to make something perfect, especially when you're first starting. So it kind of eliminates that. If you're just making like, look, I'm making 1 song this month and I'm just going to make the best song I could possibly make in 1 month. You get what I'm saying? Then it kind of forces you to take action, which I think improves like the creative energy as well. For us, when we first started, we actually had a creative compound house because we were all living in LA. We had just moved there and we were just trying to afford rent. So we just had a bunch of musician dudes all in one house. And so it was really kind of natural for us. Like we were just bouncing from room to room. We all had different studios in the house, probably had 3 or 4 recording studios in one house. And we would just write a song, write an idea, work on it that day, bounce around. What are you working on? What are you working on? What kind of ideas you got? And that's kind of how everything came about. So it was really productive. So I think creating an environment like what you said is important. Like however you got to do it, whether that's working with friends or just making your room set up a specific way, I think it's important for sure.
You guys are individual artists in your own right, and you guys are also cheat codes. How do you guys stop from killing each other?
I think that's how we do it. I mean, I think if you kind of feel forced creatively to do one thing all the time, then you're going to feel stuck. And that's the thing about creativity, that it should feel like a flow of energy. Like there shouldn't be any resistance to it. So, you know, if Trevor makes a song and it doesn't sound anything like a Cheat Codes record, then he can feel free to put that out as his own project. And we fully support that. So I think that's great, because I always feel like music and creativity is like, you do all these ideas and it might take you 10 ideas to get to the one amazing idea. So it's just got to feel like a constant flow of ideas and just creative output. So we don't try to hinder any idea. It's like there's no bad ideas. It's just some ideas are amazing and memorable.
Just a few weeks ago, the Netflix series "This Is Pop." I don't know if you ever saw an episode. Have you seen that? "This Is Pop" by Netflix series. They were talking about Boys to Men and the influences of Boys to Men. I'm wondering what band or what your personal influences are when it comes to your craft now as a music maker.
Yeah, we definitely all love pop music, and I know, for example, Kevy, it's kind of random, but his uncle was in this band called Sugar Ray.
Oh, Sugar Ray. I love Sugar Ray.
Yeah, they have some really dope records from back in the day.
Mhm.
So he used to go to shows a lot. And I think just him seeing like firsthand, like, because it's different when you're seeing music from afar. You think like it's kind of mystical. Like you're like, how are they doing this? Like what? You just see the final product. You're not really seeing the ins and outs. So
Process, yeah.
yeah, I think for him, it just seemed like, oh, he's just in a band. Like, what's the big deal? That was kind of his mindset about it. And then for me, I used to go to like pop punk shows all the time. Like I remember I saw Motion City Soundtrack. I used to see like, I saw Death Cab for Cutie and just kind of like rock shows like that. And one day I met Sonny Moore, who was in this band called From First to Last. Now you know him as Skrillex.
Oh, okay.
At the time, he was 16 years old in this rock band. And I was kind of talking to him outside the show. And they were just opening on the tour. So for me, I kind of looked at that as like, oh, there's nothing mystical about this. It's like, these are just people that making music that they love, and they're just traveling around the world and just trying to make it happen. So that was like a big inspiration for me. And I know Trevor's really into the Shins. I don't know if you know the Shins.
Mm-hmm. Not very familiar with that.
It's kind of more like indie rock vibes, and the Beatles. He's really into the Beatles as well. So I think just like good songwriting and good vocals and good storytelling through lyrics, like that's something that we're all very into.
You know, I could talk to you all day, but I know we have a schedule that we need to follow. How can they get in touch with the band, with Cheat Codes? How can they find your songs and all that stuff? Give us your social media touch points, Matt. Go ahead.
Yeah, so everything at Cheat Codes. You can follow us on Twitter, on YouTube, Spotify, and YouTube. We have a new podcast, so check us out. Cheat Codes Podcast is also on Spotify, and yeah. New albums.
You have a podcast. Wow.
Yeah, we have a podcast.
So what do you guys talk about? What do you guys do? What's the concept of your podcast? What's the
it's pretty open. We just kind of talk to different musicians that we work with.
Okay.
We have an episode with Morgan Page, for example, Charlie Jordan, and a bunch of DJs as well. And we play video games as well on the podcast.
You mentioned that you're from LA. Before you go, I have to ask you this question, Matt. Are you a sports fan?
Yeah, I am a sports fan.
Basketball, NBA?
Yeah, I like basketball.
Just a few hours ago, actually a couple of hours ago, the Phoenix Suns just beat the Clippers. So the Phoenix Suns are moving up to the NBA Finals. What are your thoughts on the Clippers out of contention and the Phoenix Suns? And it looks like the Atlanta Hawks with Giannis out of the Milwaukee Bucks. It looks like it's going to be Atlanta Hawks versus Phoenix Suns finals. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's great. Yeah, I think it's kind of, maybe it's good for the NBA. I think they're both really good teams. They're both unexpected. Yeah. I'm sad for the Clippers because, I've been rooting for them since for like the past 10 years.
Okay.
But I'm happy that they got to the conference finals because that was always the thing. It's like the Clipper curse. They can never get to the conference finals.
Yeah.
And against all odds, they made it. They were down 2-0 in both of the series and they made it to the conference finals. So like, I'm happy with their season. I'm not like too bummed by it. And I'm kind of happy to see Chris Paul in the finals because
exactly. Yeah.
He definitely deserves it. He's a really good, I've been watching him for years as well. And I don't know, he's one of those guys that you're like, damn, if he never wins a championship, it's kind of sad almost.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, Matt and Russell, ladies and gentlemen, the 1/3 of Cheat Codes. I hope to listen to all of your music and follow you on your podcast as well. Thank you so much, Matt.
Yeah, thank you. Have a good one.
You stay safe. Thank you. Take care.
Bye.
Deliver possibilities faster in Cebu with Lala Move. Let's move forward to the new normal by delivering your business or personal needs in just 55 minutes. Deliver small or big items with our motorcycles starting at 60 pesos or four-wheel MPVs and light trucks starting at 250 pesos. Download the app now from Apple App Store or Google Play Store. Lala Move. Deliver faster.